Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us, and an episode that is going to be starting off a little negative, but probably end with a lot of excitement and a lot of hope and a lot of enthusiasm for the future of this U.S. men's national team program. Today we are talking about two friendlies that apparently did happen. I did watch them and I don't know why I did, but the U.S. men did play two friendlies in September. They happened and they were terrible, but fortunately, the saving grace of this entire month is that the official announcement of Mauricio Pochettino being hired as the next U.S. men's national team head coach is official. It is out. They announced it before the game against New Zealand on September 10th, and Mauricio Pochettino will be in charge come the games in October. To talk about a lot of things to talk about a couple things that don't matter, and then a lot of things that are really exciting, is my friend and yours, Caleb, aka USMNT Corner. Caleb, your team is coached by Mauricio Pochettino again.
Yeah, I can say that one of my favorite teams has already been coached by Pochettino. I'm a Spurs fan, proud of it. Don't have a ton
Proud.
to cheer for
Okay.
all the time, but I listen. I know you're a gunner. It's okay. It's all right. No, I think it was the best hire that could have possibly been made outside of maybe Klopp, Guardiola, whatever.
Right.
I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but you've got to be excited if you're a U.S. fan right now, no doubt about it. Despite what we've watched for the last two friendlies.
Let's just get that out of the way then, right? Let's talk about these two friendlies that happened real quick because my overall thoughts are that I didn't I learned like two things, but I didn't need to have these games necessarily to tell me those points of information. The U.S. lost to Canada 2-1, lost to New Zealand, or excuse me, tied New Zealand. Oof, wow. 1-1. And really the points that I came away with are that Patrick Schulte deserves to be part of this goalkeeping group going forward. I don't think that is at all a hot take. He did pretty well in the game against Canada, and he's young enough to where mistakes are allowable, and hopefully he continues to improve and progress. And to be quite honest, he's playing for a Columbus Crew team, Caleb, that's probably gonna at least make an Eastern Conference final. They'll probably have to play Miami there, so who knows how that'll actually go. But like, we're looking at a guy who has played in a MLS Cup final, a CONCACAF Champions Cup final, and a Leagues Cup final, all within the span of 12 months. And for me, I didn't need to watch him play on the US team to like know that he should be part of this group, but it was nice to see him look decent for the US and go, okay, yeah, I think this needs to be number 3, if not number 2, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta like what you see, and you gotta appreciate the fact that he's given an opportunity. I'm glad that we're done with some of the threes that we have seen. Um, I think threes should be reserved for people who have a future, not just another vet. Like that's your two. Your two should be another vet. Your third, to me, should be
Yeah.
future. So I like him. I like what he's asked to do with Columbus. You pointed out he's played in some big games. We saw him in the Olympics. He's a good keeper. I don't think he did anything to hurt his stock with the U.S. at all. I
Let
think
me ask you this, because I think this does play a little bit of a factor, right? When you're talking
okay.
about Patrick Schulte, who is 23, he'll be 24 next year.
Mhm.
He, as we just pointed out, done very well in MLS. Um, do you think that he got the start, one, kind of as like well, why play Matt Turner 2 games? Like, there's no point, right? But also, you think that maybe he's thinking about a move to Europe soon, and so kind of getting those national team appearances and calls up and call ups You think that may have been a little bit?
I mean, that would be the U.S. Federation doing him a lot of favors to put him out there just for that. I mean, to say he's not looking to go to Europe would be
We've heard
naive.
rumors, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to play at a high level, that's where you want to be. Now, do I need my keeper to be in Europe? No, I think you can be a good goalkeeper stateside. But I do like the fact that guys want to push themselves. They want to be where the best soccer is being played.
Hmm.
And I think they went with Schulte because he's better with his feet. I think that's honestly what probably edged him out, because I think Mikey was he was doing some weird stuff. I mean, both games, I think he was trying to like overcoach almost, like earn your spot. Like, dude, no, you're just a placeholder. You don't have to show anything. Just do the same stuff that's been happening. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
I could see doing him a favor and giving him an opportunity. I could see the fact that maybe he actually did beat Turner out. I could also see just the fact that, hey, we got 2 games. We'll give one of you, we'll just split them,
Yeah.
and they're just predetermined. I could see any of it, but I am glad that we're seeing some new faces there, because I know I'm not the only one. I know you're not the only one. There are question marks about Matt Turner. When he's going good, he is good. I mean, he is very, very good. But he has shown over the last couple of years that he can have some roller coaster moments. So to sit there and just say that he's etched in stone as the number one, I think is kind of selling ourselves short as far as who we have waiting in the
Yeah.
wings. We've got some
I think
talent.
there's talent. I think that's the best way to put it, right? And as we move more into the Poach discussion, and when we talk about things that he can immediately do, I mean, part of it is that no one's guaranteed a starting spot, right? So while I still would say, and I think you would probably agree, that Matt Turner is probably the best goalkeeper we have still, that's not a lock that he's our number one.
Right.
Now that we have a new coach, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of guys are going to have to, continue to earn their time. And, there's probably a handful of guys that they're on the team default,
I mean, Christian
Pulisic,
Pulisic is playing on this team.
yeah, like that's you're not dropping him. You're right. There's some guys like that, but then there's some guys that are fringe or in guys in weak positions. And I think goalkeeper is one of those at the moment. For such a long time, we had weak positions all over the field, but goalkeeper was never one of those spots for the U.S. And right now, it kind of is. So yeah, I think everybody would probably agree. Like you said, he's probably the one, but it is by no means etched in stone.
The other thing I learned is that Marlon Fossey is actually good at the international level. I know Thomas has talked about him a lot. I think you've mentioned him. And, I'm always, how do I put this without offending all of Belgium? There are certain leagues in Europe where I go, if you're there, then you're absolutely better than anything
Right.
that's going to be in MLS. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then there are some leagues that I'm like, yeah, you're probably better. Like there's a level of intensity, of professionalism that's higher, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that will translate to the national team. And I thought that he had a great performance. He was by FOTMOB the highest rated player on the field on Tuesday against New Zealand. But I think the big takeaway is just that, as much as we have identified pretty much, maybe 11 guys who should start, but at least 9 who are probably locked in starters when all healthy. I do think Fossey gave himself a chance to be considered as the backup to Dest when he's healthy, but also just in that right back pool. I mean, we took, I think, 17 right backs to the last World Cup. I don't think Pochettino would do that.
16.
But
16.
sorry, 16.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm like? This is just, it's good to see someone who got an opportunity and actually
Mhm.
took advantage of it to give themselves maybe an actual spot on the depth chart.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that there were friendlies used to identify players and identify talent. I mean, what's the point of running out your, you're the same 13, 14 guys every single game when you know exactly what they're
Yeah,
going to give you? Because the thing is, when a player gets hurt, Dest, who's going to take the place? Scally, okay, but you can't just put all your eggs in one basket and Scally's the savior. Uh, I mean, I like Scally, but you know what
yeah.
I mean. Like you've got to turn over every leaf when you
I'm
have
yeah, and
a
I think I'm
position.
not saying Scally was. I'm not saying
Right,
that. I'm
right.
just
Of
saying that now
course, of
there's at
course.
least like, there's someone more than Scally who I'm like, yeah, he's the backup right back.
Well, exactly, and that's my point. Like after you go, Des Scally, what? Shaq Moore? Like what? Is he fine? Sure, whatever. But why are we not taking a look at all of these guys?
Right.
Marlon Fossey's been on the radar of so many people for so long, and he just got a cap in 2024, and he's never been looked at before.
Yeah.
All the friendlies, all the Gold Cups, all the like with CONCACAF Nations League now and Gold Cup, there's tiers to these tournaments now. There are plenty of opportunities to see a guy who's playing in Europe. He's played for a while. He's been doing it. He's playing minutes. Like it's just insane to me that we hadn't seen a guy like Fossey before. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited that there was an actual opportunity to see somebody, and he did. He took an opportunity that was given,
Mhm.
and he played well. Unlike certain players who get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity and continue to disappoint or
We had one of those this camp. Like, as
they
much as I hate to say
yes,
it, Johnny Cardoso
yes,
had a
exactly.
stinker against
That's what I'm
Canada.
saying.
And you and I have sat on this podcast for how long and just said, dude, you're good.
Yep.
Where is this? Where is that
What
good here on the national team? And it,
what is the
again,
deal?
a massive opportunity that he just laid an egg.
I don't understand it. And it's like there are Weston McKinney, you can play him as a six, a lone six, you can play him as a double pivot, you can play him as an eight, you can play him as a 10, you can split him out wide. Like there are certain players that can, you
Right.
know, do a role and do it well no matter what. And then I feel like Johnny has to be in the perfect circumstances to play well. Cause it's like, dude, we've seen you as an eight,
Right.
Olympic qualifiers back in the day. Like that was abysmal. We've seen you as a lone six. That's not good. Like it, if he has to be in a perfect scenario to play well, then I'm sorry, that
Yeah.
can't be used at the international level. As much like he's got so much talent. That's no one's denying that. He plays well for club. I mean, he's just got the transfer to Tottenham. Like I'm a Spurs fan. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in
That whole,
a
I mean, he, clearly clubs are seeing his value.
right. Yes, it's not like he can't play. Like no one is saying that he sucks. He's a good player, clearly. But when he puts on the US kit,
Yeah.
where does it go?
Yeah. And in his defense, and this is two more points that I do want to make about this window. In his defense, at the times we probably needed him to step up, it seemed like we had interim coaches. And
Mm, it's a great point.
the stat was brought up yesterday before the game. I forget if I listened to this or read it, and I forget where. So I apologize to the person who dug this stat up. But the U.S., since the 2022 World Cup, has played more matches with an interim head coach than a full-time contracted employed head coach. That is a problem. That obviously, hopefully,
That's insane.
will change, and we'll have a head coach going into, and maybe even after a little bit, the 2026 World Cup. But that is that's not okay. And I think that is the other thing that delaying the rehire and then eventually going back to rehire Berhalter really put this program, 6 months behind, right? Of the
Mhm.
ability to turn over new talent, take what we had done, which was mostly good in the 2022 cycle, and find ways to improve on that. And now, Pochettino is going to have a year and, you know, what, 8 months to get all of
Mhm.
these things that he needs to do by the next World Cup. And that's
Without a
also unfair to
qualification
the players.
process as well.
Right. Without any real matches,
Right.
hardcore matches. Yeah.
Synthesized competition,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I
Um,
100%,
that is a problem. The
100%
other
agree.
thing the other negative that needs to be said, attendance in the Kansas City match against Canada, 10,000.
Mm.
Attendance for the New Zealand match in Cincinnati was 15,000. Now, there are a lot of reasons why tickets did not sell for these, but that is not good attendance, especially in two cities where you, as U.S. Soccer, boast as like your homes. They're
Mhm.
on the
Mhm.
rotation of all the, they're if we're hosting a match, they're probably the first three calls that you make, right? That is not on the fans. I just want this to be very clear. That is not on the fans. That is on U.S. Soccer failing
100%.
to provide a good value and a good reason to attend these matches.
Mhm. 100%. I mean, it was sad to see. Um, no one wants to watch a game with nobody in the stands. It's just it's like depressing to watch. But you're 100% right. The only like the fingers pointed at USSF. 100%. U.S. Soccer Federation has dropped the ball so much, and it's like everyone's frustrated. And when teams and fan bases like Atlanta United seeing it, when fan bases are frustrated, and then you're not given a good reason, why would people show up? Like you're gonna in so many markets you outprice people. You don't put a good product on the field. You don't
Mm,
like there's so many things, and I mean, I hope I hope the people that make decisions were paying attention, and I hope we never see that again. It's
mm-hmm.
embarrassing as a soccer fan, as someone who loves the sport, to see a national televised game with that kind of turnout. It's embarrassing, and it's nobody's fault but U.S. Soccer.
It needs to be said as well that on Saturday, the game in Kansas City was played on the same day and relatively the same time as the Kansas City Currents NWSL regular season match. Now, obviously, they don't play in the same stadium. That's why Children's Mercy Park was available. But that is a dumb decision by U.S. Soccer that they did
Mm,
not have to make. They knew that Kansas City Current was going to be playing on that day at home. And I'm not saying that's the reason only 10,000 people showed up, but that just is disrespectful to the soccer audience in that city.
correct.
And it does leave some people with a decision to make. I'm sure there's plenty of Kansas City Current fans who are season ticket holders there that would probably also have gone to a U.S. men's national team game. I know it's NWSL, but there's crossover a little bit at least.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and that was idiotic in my opinion.
Completely agree.
All right, we're done talking the negatives because while this program feels like we're in the doldrums, 4 games in a row we haven't won. We've lost 5 of our last 8. It's not good, but there's a wind coming to fill our sails, and his name is Mauricio Pochettino. He is now officially the next U.S. men's national team head coach. It's finally true. Finally.
Are you sure?
It is on the social medias.
It's because I sources are telling me that it's a done deal.
Sources are
Can you?
telling me that they've been telling us this for, I think, 3
God,
weeks.
I
And
mean,
and I do want to say before we get into the actual poach, I do want people to understand that reporting is not always an exact science. So I would caution any reporter from being super exact with their reporting. Say sources have said, say this is probable, whatever. But it did seem like this was happening, and it was just like, I guess it took him 8 days to spell his name on the piece of paper, is what it felt like.
it cracked me up because every time I opened Twitter, there were like 4 people just every 30 minutes. It's a done deal. He's coming. It's official. I'm like, all right. We know like it's there. We're good. Let's just wait.
It
Let him
was
sign
yeah, it
it.
was a race to like get the he signed, and it's like just tell me
Yeah.
that they've agreed and that they're working out the details, and it will be finished soon.
Like when, yeah, the US, like they officially finally announced it and we're all like, all right, yeah, cool. Like
Yeah,
it was hard to be excited because it's like,
yeah,
dude, yeah, we got it.
yeah. That said, it's still really exciting, and it
Yes.
does fill me with hope that the program and the federation are moving in the right direction. This is the second coaching hire in a row that you're like, oh, they tried.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the
100%.
difference. This seemed like an actual coaching search guided by people who are soccer people who wanted to do the best thing for the soccer.
Well, and I think that's my thing. Like, regardless of how it turns out, this showed initiative. This showed um, desire. Um, it's exciting. I mean, somebody had pointed out like, we've gotten a big name from Germany before, or from Europe before with Jurgen, and it's like, dude, this isn't
This
even.
is this is
It's
different.
not even close. He was a big name, like people knew who he was, but as far as the world of coaching goes, we have a man who has had success in the top 5 leagues multiple times over. Like he is, like you look at all the international teams in the world, it's hard to argue any other coach better than Mauricio Pochettino.
Right. I mean, you're looking at the landscape right now, and you have Julian Nagelsmann at Germany. There's not a whole lot of national teams who have a guy as good as Poch who has accomplished as much as Mauricio Pochettino has accomplished. The quote in the press release from Pochettino said, quote, "The decision to join U.S. Soccer wasn't just about football for me. It's about the journey that this team and this country are on. The energy, the passion, and the hunger to achieve something truly historic here. Those are the things that inspired me." I'm sure he absolutely said those words. But I think that does speak a little bit to the nature of this particular job right now. And to be fair to US Soccer a little bit, the difference between when they were trying to hire whoever was going to be after Berhalter back in 2023 and the ability to get a big name now. Also, money.
Yeah, I mean, look at what's about to happen. 2026 World Cup is going to be in the United States. You have a young and up and coming team. Like it's a big stage. Um, there is talent. It's not like you're going to coach Mexico or something. You're taking an exciting team on home soil. There's a lot to be excited about, and I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. Um, even though you're right, he wasn't just sitting down and pinned that out like.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of truth to it. Um, I think he's looking for something different. I think he wants a challenge. He's had success at so many different places. La Liga, uh, with Tottenham having crazy success with Tottenham getting to a Champions League final. He's done a lot already in a relatively, short career, shortish career. Um, so the opportunity's there. Why not take it? I mean,
Yeah.
some guys, they want to exhaust their ability on a club level. Like you look at a Mourinho. Like I feel like he's done club. It's just my opinion. Whereas Poch hasn't coached nearly as long at the club level as a Mourinho, but he's ready. He
Yeah.
wants to. Nagelsmann, same thing. Like some guys go when they're young. They're not waiting for their club career to be finished and then move into international just to see. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's
Right.
intrigued. Like this is, you know what I mean? I think he likes the challenge. And then also, like you said, it's a close proximity. It's not a 4-year full cycle. He's got a short runway.
It's not a rebuilding project or a building up project. To me, that's kind of
Exactly.
where this particular moment in time is, right? You have a team of, while young, is about to hit that age range where you start expecting things of them,
Mm,
right?
yes.
Um, Pulisic and company will be 28-ish for the next World Cup, right? 27, somewhere between 26 and 29, that kind of core group of guys that we talk about a lot.
Hmm.
So, for for Poach, he's looking at this going, okay, there's going to be expectations, but not, I mean, not too high. Like, let's be real honest. Like, we're not saying go win the damn thing right now, but
Right.
it's a team that he won't have to reteach in theory how to play soccer or like mold them to be. You can help shape them, help guide them, help put them in better positions to succeed on the field, right? You can do coaching at a slightly higher starting point because you have guys who are full-fledged professionals, been around this game for some of them almost a decade in their professional careers now. And that to me is another reason why he saw this as an opportunity. Is that I have a chance to take a team that has not been able to fully realize their potential and in 2 years get them to become heroes on their home soil with a group of
Yeah, I
guys
think
who are really good and at the point where they should start really taking off in their careers.
if you look at his club career, I think this mirrors a lot of what he's done and what he's achieved. I mean, Espanyol, Southampton, Tottenham, like coming in, taking over teams that are underachieving, not necessarily talentless, right? That's not the
Mm,
case.
yeah.
Underachieving, and then in relatively quick turnaround, almost overachieving in certain uh, scenarios. I'm a Tottenham fan, a Spurs fan, right? But Champions League final isn't an expectation of the Tottenham Hotspurs. Okay, it's not. So to get there, some would argue that that might have been an overachievement. But that is what he has done. That's who he has been, to take teams that have not quite hit the mark or not quite met the expectations and then exceeded them. And that's the opportunity that he sees here. Lots of talent, misguided in ways. Let me come in, short runway, do what I know how to do, and get these kids, get these men now to punch above their weight. That's what he's done his entire career, and that's what he has the opportunity to do here. And if he can do it on the club level and the international level, then he's putting himself in a tier of coaches that is relatively small. And I think that matters to him.
Well, I think it's important to talk about kind of how this was able to happen and give credit to where credit's due. Um, Paul Tenorio for The Athletic said that on July 16th, 2 days after the Copa America final, Crocker, JT Batson, and Vice President of Sporting Operations Elaine Lemos went to Barcelona and met with Mauricio Pochettino. So to me, that seems like he was a target very early on. I mean, if you remember, they didn't announce that Greg was done, except for after, basically a week after. So they were already on the hunt before they announced that Greg was going to be not with this team anymore. That is a good sign. Tenorio also reported that names like Klopp, Guardiola, Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter, Thomas Frank were part of these searches, which again, to your point, kind of just shows the ambition of what this coaching search was. I think those are important things to talk about, right? Like this was a group of people. Again, this was Crocker and Batson saying, no, we're going to go try to find the best person for this job, not the best person that we can afford at this level. We're going to, and they told us that money wasn't going to be an issue. I still think obviously money is an issue. We'll talk about that, but like resolving the money issues seem to not be the issue. I think it's the key phrase for that. And then also Tenorio reported that before this deal was signed, I think the closing arguments over an Argentine steak dinner at a hotel restaurant, Pochettino pointed out his respect for Cindy Parlow Cone, president of U.S. Soccer, as the only World Cup winner in the room. So, that's kind of cool that we forget that we have a World Cup winning president of the federation who can be like, well, when I won the World Cup, I mean, that's a decent thing to bring up. We rag on U.S. Soccer rightfully a lot of times, but I do think you have to admit that they knocked it out of the park with this hire and the Emma Hayes hire, and you have to give them that credit.
I mean, absolutely. And the heat was turned on. They were, every single one of them, their names were being called for about that week, right? Where we weren't sure what was going on. And, we
got supporter groups being like, yo, like this guy needs to be done.
Right.
Fans are like,
it was one of the hottest I've ever seen the temperature get from the fan base.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
It was because I think it was not even as hot as when Klinsmann had his debacle, because there was finality to what happened at Copa America. We lost in the group stage.
Exactly.
And, that came on the heels of not looking good for a little bit.
Yeah, I think you can only take mediocrity to a certain point, and everybody was just done. And there was a lot of heat on, Bats and Crocker and Cone, and everybody was having their name called and having their job called for. But, as you said, you have to give credit where credit is due. And as angry as we were with them, this was a home run. And they are the ones responsible for hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
So absolutely, well done. Sign an extension. I don't care. You did a great job.
I mean, seriously,
we're happy.
You can't complain about them being able to go hire these two. And I do think, again, this is why it's so frustrating that we ended up with Berhalter for the first time around, because I just want to know, where was this gumption back, in early 2023? I don't know. That still is frustrating, but hey, we eventually got a really good coach who, nothing is guaranteed, and we can talk about the apprehensions maybe we have, but you got a guy who anyone would have wanted, right? And got him to come here. Another thing you got to give JT specifically credit for is he kind of was helping to negotiate the Chelsea Poch U.S. Soccer, like, how is this contract thing going to work? Who's paying what and how is Mauricio going to get the money he's owed in some way, shape, or form? And so he was able to get that done. The reported salary from Jeff Carlisle is $6 million. Tenorio reported or gave a good kind of screenshot of one of the donors. His name is Ken Griffin. He is a U.S. Soccer donor and a hedge fund manager, basically. He is also a soccer philanthropist. He has donated tons of money, not just to U.S. Soccer, but other soccer programs to help build many pitches. He is a guy who played soccer. So being able to tap into that to get him to donate a substantial amount toward the men's national team program and the hire of a new coach. That is awesome. The other gentleman named, this one by Jeff Carlisle, is Scott Goodwin, who is also like a trust fund manager type thing. They got people to donate money. They got corporations to donate money. And that's, you and I are college football fans. That is how we do it. That's how Kirby Smart's making $9 million a year or whatever he's on, or how Nick Saban was able to stay at Alabama despite, in theory, richer programs and states, not taking them away, is you have people who are willing to pony up the money for a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. There are people who are invested, who will do what it takes to succeed, because success in the long term just makes more money, right? And if it's all about money, hey, come on, people,
Yeah.
put a good product on the field,
Yeah.
and you want to see shirts flying off the shelves, come on now.
Yeah.
You look at what Canada did just to get Marsh. I mean, whatever
We
it
joke
takes.
about it, but no, that's just, if that's what you got to do, you got to do it.
100%.
Our guy's not going to have a
100%.
tenured our guy's going to be called the Scott Goodwin coach of the U.S. men's national team. We're not that sellout, but hey, got to find money where you can.
Exactly. And could he have made more money at a club? 100%.
But I think $6 million is a lot for an international manager. It's not like he's taking a pay cut, obviously.
Right.
Most people would take a pay cut when they leave Chelsea, because Todd Bowley just gives people money. I don't know if he knows how much money he's given people. He just kind of hands them wads of hundreds, and there it is.
Well, somebody manages that for him, right?
Man,
supposed to.
But I do think after the PSG stint and his Chelsea stint, he was kind of a little done with the rigors and I don't want to say pressure of club, but just like the bullshit that comes with club coaching sometimes.
Right.
Because you have one dude, especially at Chelsea, who's like, well, why aren't we winning? He's like, well, because you signed 17 wingers when we needed a center back. I told you this, or at PSG, it's like, well, we don't have great facilities, but we have the best players in the world. What's going on here? When you go from that and the day in and day out pressure to an international gig where you're coaching 2 games every other month, it is a little bit easier. You do know that you're going to have to take a pay cut, but I think he wants, again, a new challenge,
Completely agreed. 100%.
You have, called yourself a Tottenham fan. You are a supporter of that club. If you could identify some of the concerns you might have with Mauricio Pochettino and his coaching style / the way he'll coach this men's national team, what would you say those concerns would be?
And as far as the way he's going to set the team up and the way that we want to play and all that, I have zero concerns. I think he's going to be fantastic because he's as much of everything as you want. He will press, he will sit back if he needs to, he will possess if he needs to. He's pragmatic enough to where he has a way that he wants to play, but he's not stupid in that he's going to do it continuously, even though it's not working. You know what I mean? He's not an idiot. The only concern is that we have a lot of high profile players that have been fragile in the past, and he does push his players. Now, the good thing is it's not 4 years of a cycle, it's 2 years. So it could be a really, really good thing. But because we've seen a lot of soft tissue type stuff, and that concerns me a little. but
Yeah.
not enough to be like, I don't think anybody's over here, thinking, what's here's the negative. Like, everybody's excited. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say that with any type of negativity, but if there is one thing,
Hmm.
uh, that would be it.
That's a good point. Gio Reyna had to leave camp because I don't know, felt something in his hamstring. Josh Sargent
Mhm.
didn't play at all, even though he's been playing for Norwich. And it's just like, y'all gotta, I do think eventually, like, this is where maybe this mentality is like, well, I understand your club says this, but like, I need you to
Mhm.
play. So make up your damn mind.
Right.
Are you coming
Yeah.
here to play? Because he'll stop calling people up. I have that mentality that he'll just be like, well, Gio's not healthy. You're not even trying to be healthy. Okay, well, I'll call up the next guy. And,
Hmm.
you know, he'll understand that maybe Diego Luna, for example, no, he's not Gio Reyna, but he's healthy,
Hmm.
you know. Um, I will say one actual concern, and this is, I've said this many times. It's not like I'm going, oh, shouldn't hire him. He does not have international management experience. He also does not have a history of winning trophies. Now, that said, he has not gone to clubs that are historically winning trophies.
Right.
The trophies he did win were at PSG, where they win trophies. He does have a couple of trophies to his name as a player. He did play internationally. He played at the 2002 World Cup for Argentina. So, you know, I'm not as concerned about, oh, he doesn't have international management experience, because he does understand what it takes to play international soccer. And, you know, I have faith that a dude as good and as smart as he is will figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And
As
again,
far
this is
as
not me
just
saying you shouldn't have hired him. This is just like, well,
right.
this is it.
Yeah, like,
You know,
if we're trying to look at it and be objective and say, is there anything that pops out? Yeah, I mean, you have to look at that. He doesn't have the experience. Um, but you know, there's always a first timer who comes in, and that's how that's how you get experience. So,
right.
um, like you said, he's a smart enough coach. I think he can find the translations between club and then his
Yeah.
actual coaching experience, and then his playing experience playing for national teams. And uh, I, you know I think it's going to be a great transition. I'm very excited, and I do have a very um, I do have high expectations. I really do.
Yeah. What are some challenges specifically that you think he is facing with this team and program right now?
I mean, first thing right off the bat, look at Pulisic's interview. The mentality of this player pool. Um, and not to sound like an old fart, but this generation is different, right?
They
And
are
I
soft.
listen,
SAWFT soft.
look,
I hate to say it, but
I'm
like,
a
this team is proving to be a little like, bro,
no,
you can't.
it's
Where's the
hundred
fight
percent
now?
the way. Look, I'm a high school teacher, so I'm in the classroom. I'm a high school coach, so I'm on the field. The way that I was handled as a high school student and player uh, is massively different than
Yeah.
the way that the students and the players are handled now. The mentality is different, and there has to be a change there. There has to be a mindset change. So, like, I've come in as a high school coach, and I am working to change that. I'm working to change culture. Um, just because that's what you know is the norm now doesn't mean that that's what it has to be. And I absolutely think, especially because of who he is and his, just the weight that he carries by coming in as Mauricio Pochettino, right? Like, he can change that. Um, and I think, there's some players that are kind of hungry for it. They've wanted it for a while, but no one was pushing the team, right? Like, you can't tell me that Tyler Adams is a part of the soft generation. Like, that dude is hard nosed. He runs through a wall. Like, there are players that way.
Sometimes to a detriment, I will say.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah, 100%.
his mentality is go out there and win.
So I think that's the, if there's one thing, that's where you start.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? I don't know. Maybe some of the guys that are used to getting call ups every single time, maybe you leave them home.
Yeah.
Say, look, you're not playing club, man. So I'm not calling you in.
I think
You
it's
gotta
that.
earn
I
it.
think it's a little bit, what, and I don't think this was necessarily planned, and that's why this is coaching an international team is hard. But like, okay, well, Pulisic, maybe you're not playing 90 minutes every game. Okay, well, we think your effort is deserving of 30 minutes total this window.
Mm.
I hate to sing about Pulisic, but like, because he didn't start
Right.
last night,
Right.
but I don't think him not starting had anything to do with his play, and I think that's the problem that I've seen from Greg, that I saw from Greg, and anyway, is that to me, for some reason, he didn't value actual match production
Right.
as much as he should. And Mauricio Pochettino is a guy whose job for the past 15 years at the club level, because that's the job, is to win the damn game in front of you.
Right.
Now, obviously, in friendlies and such, you do take it differently. And that's the thing that, as we talked about earlier, if you're telling me the friendly is to try out Marlon Fossey and try out Caleb Wiley and see how Aiden Morris does, I can handle a loss because I'll go, well, yeah, a couple guys got their first debut, got their first caps. We were playing a different formation. Like, and you lose two or even tie 1-1, you go, well, okay, yeah, because we tried something new. Now, obviously, everything can't just be new all the time, but
Right.
Greg was so, oh, this is just a test and this is a process and we're, everything was metrics and everything. And it's like, there's a good reason to have metrics based goals in your game. But the ultimate metric is, did you put the ball in the back of the net more than the other team did? And did you win the game?
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Poch understands that. So to me, that is, I agree with you, the mentality, but I think the difference is that taking that club mentality of going, well, we have to win this match. When he's at Tottenham, he goes, boys, we've got, who is a bad team? Burnley this weekend, But you don't go, well, we got Burnley this weekend. We know we're better than them. We got better players. So, guys, here's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to pass the ball 10 times to the left, from left to right, and we're going to try to, connect 70% of our passes in this zone here. And no, the goal was to go win the damn game against Burnley, get 3 points, and try to move up the table. And to me, that I'm with you. It's not necessarily being hard. It's holding them to a standard that the standard is trying to win the damn game. You play to win the game.
Well, I mean, to your point, the way he's going to change things and coming in and shifting things is, if you look at who he has been and you look at what the U.S. has struggled with. I mean, the U.S. under Berhalter struggled to put the ball in the back of the net. We did.
Flat out. Yeah,
Just
unless you were
plain and simple.
Martinique, didn't put the ball in the back of the net against you.
Right. And then even against teams where we should have just waxed, we were beating them 1-2-0, right? Like, we were not scoring a ton of goals. You look at Pochettino's teams across his club career, every time he takes over a team, they end up being in the top half and generally top quarter teams in their respective league in goals scored, because he is direct and he knows what matters. So I'm 100% with you there. He's going to come in and change a lot of things. And mentality is one thing, like I said, but to your point, winning games, because he's going to be direct. He's going to score goals. He's going to, I mean, I think really, like, we're sitting here talking about it. I'm making all these points and I'm thinking, God, it all connects, right? Like, it's all like Berhalter's just, it was so frustrating because he separated things like it was organizing silverware. Like, this is a soccer team.
Right.
Let's play soccer.
Yeah. And I think another thing we do need to talk about, and you and I and Thomas have all talked about this, that like the player pool doesn't because this is a national team, you have the players who are eligible to play for your country are the players you can pick. It's not like Poach is going to go out there and make 12 new signings and all of a sudden we're going to have a great team. But I do think there is a level of fresh eyes evaluating the player pool. Maybe bringing in, I've already mentioned him, but like a Diego Luna. I don't know if this was something that was his call or not, but bringing in a Marlon Fossey as an example. And Mike Uvaris may have just done that because like he was on the depth chart of like, well, Dest isn't here and Reynolds isn't healthy and, whatever. I don't know. But like, I'm looking more at those where it's like, well, I have an opportunity to bring in a new guy versus sometimes what Berhalter would do is bring in a guy that he trusted, right?
Exactly.
A Shaq Moore, a Reggie Cannon.
No
offense to those guys, right? They're professional soccer players. Better than I've ever been at the sport. But why not try Marlon Fossey instead of just bringing back Shaq Moore? Why not try, to an extent, Diego Luna instead of bringing back Cade Cowell, who is
Georgie
not really a
Mihailovic.
midfielder and who, and by the way, Cade's done well enough this season in Liga MX, but like, again, it's, well, are we just checking in with them or are we trying to find out new information? And I'm hopeful that he just looks at it from that perspective.
It's settling for a guy who can do a job, right? I trust this guy, he can do a job, versus let's give a guy a chance to see if he can make a difference.
Right.
Like there's difference makers and then there's guys who can do a job. And again, I keep saying this, look back at, because it's all we have, right? Look back at his club career, Pochettino's club career. He is known for bringing young talent through, for giving opportunities to young players, because he is looking for guys who can come and make a difference, not just keep the status quo, because the way that he wants to play is fast, is aggressive. And guess what? That's not necessarily the strength of a 37-year-old Tim Ream, which, don't get me wrong, love Tim Ream.
And here's the thing. Poach might bring him in because you're like, look, he's good. If I have to put him in, right. I know but right. Like, we didn't need to see Tim Ream all day on Saturday.
Exactly.
We just didn't. 100%. Especially when he was playing poorly. So I'm with you,
I mean, my goodness, we've just talked about a few things that are like he's going to change, but they're so simple.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, if you think about it, it's very simple. But we have someone who is going to do it, who's capable of doing it, and who also has a track record of doing so.
Yeah. His first match is against Panama, and then he gets into it, plays Mexico in Mexico in October. Those are two feisty matches for him to have to cut his teeth with, Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm not expecting him to win both because of a lot of reasons. Number one, who knows who's going to be healthy? But number two, like obviously this will be a installment period, right? I also don't Emma Hayes won a damn tournament. Her within 4 months of being hired. Don't think that's necessarily what he's going to do. That said, we do have Nations League in November, and we have sat here after multiple early round Nations League matches going, why the hell did we not beat El Salvador by more than 2 goals? Mm-hmm. And so that will be a good benchmark for him as he gets some competitive games after being in charge of the team, getting a better experience with the team, and the team getting to know him and installing his system a little bit. Mm-hmm. I do think that Nations League window is going to be a good, again, a benchmark. How did he perform? How did we look compared to what we have been? And then, probably a January camp because U.S. Soccer has to do those. And again, the official position of this podcast is they're fine. Just use it for actual youth talent. It's fine.
Please.
Don't call in people over the age of 25. What are we doing? And then March, you have hopefully the Nations League finals. So you do have some competitive matches coming up.
Mm.
and then next summer is a Gold Cup. So he does have some time to play around and get comfortable with the player pool, but there are going to be matches where expectations are placed on the team. And I think that's good that he doesn't have a whole lot of time to just be like, well, you know, we got some time to ramp up. I mean, he's got 2 matches and then we got to play matches that matter.
Yeah, I think he's got some early opportunities to make a statement. You know, you can come in like I'm with you. Emma Hayes, it's a bit different. Um, Probably not going to have that quick of a ramp to success.
Literally, we're not winning a gold medal in 3 months,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. We're different. The men and women's U.S. soccer landscape is vastly different at the moment. But um, he does. He, like you said, he's got some really good opportunities, some good tests. Like his first game is not, you know, Cuba in Orlando, right? Like in perfect
Yeah.
conditions. What are we going to learn from that?
Mhm.
Like, well, we just beat them 6-0. Is that because Pochettino is amazing? No, like that's because what we just played. So
Right.
he's got, like you said, with Panama and Mexico, some opportunities to have a real test quickly, early in his tenure, to make a statement, so that if we do look good, then we can turn around and say, "Wow, okay, look what we just saw in the ridiculous Copa performances. Look what we just saw with these stupid friendly interim matches that were a waste of everyone's time. And then now look how well we just played in
Yeah.
such a quick turnaround. That is a big opportunity, a big statement for him to possibly make.
Just looking ahead, like briefly, because obviously they have a whole nother window to play, but you're looking at possibly one of Costa Rica, Guatemala, Jamaica, and Nicaragua as potential opponents in that um, November window. Not by any stretch bad teams, but like teams, as you said, we should beat them by multiple goals. Um, but again, the Panama and Mexico matches are just going to be interesting because now you've added the new coach. There's obviously the feistiness that we have with Mexico. Panama is always a feisty and tough team. So we at least get to put him to the test early, right? And
Yep.
at least see what this team can look like under actual duress, not, as you said, perfect conditions. So it is an exciting time. It is a hopeful time. And I hate to have that feeling about U.S. soccer, but it just feels like we have taken steps to actually be a serious program.
Mhm. I'm ready to be heard again. I'm putting myself back out there. We are making ourselves available. U.S. soccer, we are here. Please don't, please don't break our hearts. No, it
Well,
is.
Caleb,
I'm excited.
I am excited as well. I was glad to talk to you about this. Your boy is coaching your team again. Um, Follow him on Twitter at USMNT Corner. He is all about doing. I mean, I think you're coaching every day of the week. It seems like right now.
Feels like it.
You've got some sort of soccer going on. So make sure you follow him at USMNT Corner. You can follow the show at SoccerForUSPod. Caleb, thank you for joining me. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Bart. I'm out.